What up, everybody? All right. I'm not going to waste no time because I don't have a lot of time. I got to get ready to split. But let's look at the word. Let's see what it says. All right. Now, if you don't like it, oh well. Argue with the word. It's not coming from me. It's coming from the word. Ephesians 5:22. Ephesians 5:22. Let's start there. Wives, wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. Hear this. Not only submission, but as unto the Lord Himself. Now we struggle in today's society with just submission in general. But according to the word, it says not only submit, but as unto the Lord. So God expects the wives to submit as unto the Lord to their husband. And if they can't even submit, just regular submission, then how much more out of order would they be to not submit as unto the Lord? If you can't even get the beginning of submission right, then how are you going to get the rest of it right? If you can't even get regular plain submission down, then how in the world are you going to get as unto the Lord submission down? You're still struggling with the beginning. But God not only expects the wives to submit to their husbands, but to do it as unto the Lord. So how it's supposed to be between her and God, that's how it's supposed to be in terms of submission when it comes to her husband. She's supposed to treat him like that. Now, how many wives do we see do that? Not very many. And this explains why a lot of marriages are being destroyed. Because what God expects to be done, it's not being done. Sometimes people get married with their own agenda, their own their own fantasy of what they want. They bring their own idea into it and don't want to do it God's way. But once again, wives, submit to your own husbands as on to the Lord. In case you have any questions about this submission, in case you don't get it, in case you don't understand what that submission is, it breaks it down and says as on to the Lord. So you know what the submission actually is. Now, there's more to it. Let's read the rest. Because there's a reason why she needs to submit as unto the Lord. Watch this. Verse 23. For the husband is the head of the wife. As, in case you got any questions about how he's head, watch this. For the husband is the head of the wife, as also Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Not only is he head, hear me, not only is he the head, he is the head in the same way or in like manner as Christ is the head of the church. So let me back up again, refresh your memory in case you forgot. Not only does it tell the wives to submit, but it tells them to submit as unto the Lord to their husband. It amps it up. And not only is the husband the head, but it amps that up. And it says that he's the head just as Christ is the head of the church. Now, if you don't understand this position, then you're not going to give the respect that's due. This is why we get a lot of women that are bossing their men around, telling them what to do, cutting them off while they're talking. Foolishness. And these things are totally displeasing to God. You hear me? All right. So it is not his job to submit to the woman. I've heard people say they need to submit to each other. Where do you get that foolishness? That's not in your Bible. It does not say that the man needs to submit to the woman also. No, it doesn't. He's the head. His job is to be the head. Not only head, but head as Christ is head over the church. So he's to be like Jesus to his wife. Nowhere does it say that that you submit to each other. No. She submits to him, he submits to God. She follows him as he follows God. He is not to submit to her. His job is never to submit to his wife. Because who you submit to, that is your head. And you both cannot be the head. If he submits to her, then she's head too. Because who you submit to is the head, and the head has the authority to lead. And it is not God's will for the woman to lead the man. I'm going to say that again. It is not God's will for the woman to lead the man. Here it is. Adam was not the one that was deceived. Eve was. The first sin that happened in humanity for mankind. Now I know that the fall of Lucifer was the first sin, but that didn't affect us. It didn't have anything to do with us. It affected Lucifer, caused him to fall, become the devil, and a third of the angels who were in on the plan. They all fell and they received the punishment thereof. But that didn't affect us. What affected us was the fall of Adam. So the first sin that affected us was in the Garden of Eden. Not what Lucifer did in heaven. That had nothing to do with us. But what was done in the Garden of Eden had something to do with us. And it was Eve who was deceived, not Adam. Eve took from the tree and ate of it. She was deceived by the serpent. And then she took and gave to Adam. Then he ate, and when Adam ate, then the curse began to hit mankind. This is an example of the woman leading. God did not call the woman to lead the man. He called the man to lead the woman. But today what we get a lot of is we get a lot of women trying to take the lead. Pushy, bossy, telling the man what to do, cutting him off while he's talking. She's rising above him and putting him in the place that she should be in. And then you wonder why it doesn't work. Well, you say, well, he's not a deep man of God. He doesn't really follow the word. Let me show you something. I'm just going to go and we'll come back to this in a second. But let's go here. Go to 1 Peter. Look at verse 7 of 1 Peter, chapter 1. Watch this. Watch this. Husbands. Now this one's for the husbands. Husbands, likewise, dwell with them. Talking about the wives. Dwell with them with understanding, giving honor to the wife as, in case you got any confusion about how you need to honor, giving honor to the wife as the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life. Watch this, that your prayers may not be hindered. You didn't like that, did you? Yeah, that your prayers be not hindered. So the husband's responsibility is to understand that the wife is the weaker vessel. She's weak. She's weaker than you. She's going to mess up more than you. Her attitude ain't going to be right. She's the weaker vessel. Give honor to her as the weaker vessel, understanding that because she's the weaker vessel, she's more vulnerable to make more mistakes. When it comes to how she needs to act, she's going to fall there more than you because she's the weaker vessel. So you have to give her honor as the weaker vessel, knowing that she carries within her more weakness. And this has to be done that your prayers may be not hindered. So if you don't do this and you're her husband, God don't hear you. When you pray, he don't hear you. Your prayers are hindered. There's a block on it. It's not going through. Not until you treat her like this. Didn't like that, did you? This is the word. Don't argue with me. Argue with the word. Telling it like it is. Telling it like it is. Watch this. I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to show you something else. Look at the 3rd chapter of 1 Peter. And I want you to look at verse 1. 3rd chapter, 1 Peter, verse 1. Wives. Once again, talking to the wives. Wives, likewise, be submissive. Here's that word again. This is a whole nother chapter, a whole nother book. And it's telling the wives to be submissive. Again, it says, be submissive to your own husbands. Watch this. That even if some do not obey the word. Oh, but he doesn't follow God. He's not living right. That even if some do not obey the word, they, without a word, may be won over by the conduct of their wives. Didn't like that, did you? This is what the word says. It tells the wives to submit to their husbands even if they're not living like men of God. even if they don't obey the word. That's your responsibility still, because you married him. So you say, but. No, you married him. You're still responsible to submit, regardless of if he obeys the word or not. Didn't like that, did you? It's the truth. Take it up with the word. Not me. Now go back to Ephesians 5:24 actually. Okay, Ephesians 5:24. I'm gonna do this real quick because I gotta go. Therefore, talking about the husbands being the head. So first of all, let me clear something up. The reason why the wives are to submit to their husband as unto the Lord is because the husband is the head over the wife, just like, not just head, but just like, or in like manner, at this standard of head, just like Christ is the head of the church. Now this applies to even the man that does not obey the word. If that's who you're married to, that's still his position. According to the word, if that's who you married, he still has that authority over you. So if you don't want someone who's not living right to have that authority over you, don't marry him. Because if you marry him, you're still responsible for doing your part and submitting to him, even if he doesn't obey the word, as we just read. So that doesn't excuse your position and your responsibility and your role as the wife. That's who you married? Oh well, that's what you got to tough it out with. I didn't write it, but that's what it says. Okay, therefore, verse 24. Therefore, just as the church is subject to Christ. He's using all these just ases in order to clarify any questions that you may have about in what type of manner should this submission be. It's telling you right here, just as the church is subject to Christ, so let the wives be subject to their own husbands in everything. Didn't like that, did you? I'm sure. Because society taught you that you don't need to do that, that you need to run your mouth, talk back, cut your man off, boss him around. Society taught you that you need to look for a man that'll submit to you and let you be in control and let you run everything. So really what you're looking for is not a husband. What you're really looking for is a son. You want to be his mother, not his wife. All right. Y'all gonna get mad at me because I'm not having no mercy today. I'm just giving it to you plain and simple. It says subject. It says wives, be to your own husbands in everything. In everything. Verse 25. It gives you the husband's role. It says, husbands, love your wives. Just as, in case you're wondering how, what level of love? Just as, yeah, I'm going to let that sink in for a minute. That just as. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her. Didn't like that, did you? Not only love her, but love her to the extent of Jesus himself. Now, you can't do this unless you know Jesus. You can't love her like Jesus unless you know him. And she can't submit to you as unto the Lord unless she knows the Lord. So you're not going to get that from a woman that doesn't serve God, doesn't know him, doesn't have a relationship with him. She cannot submit to you as unto the Lord because she's not submitted to the Lord. She first of all needs to know him and have a relationship with him, a strong one. And then, as it is in her relationship with him, she's supposed to express that to you and submit to you in the same way. And the husband's supposed to love the wife as Christ loves the church. But how can he love the wife as Christ loves the church if he doesn't know Christ? All right. All right. Y'all ain't gonna like me today because I'm giving it to you uncut. Okay. Verse 26. That he might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word, that he might present her to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she should be holy and without blemish. So husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. He who loves his wife loves himself. Love her as you do. It said love her as you do your own body. You're supposed to treat her like you treat yourself. And if you love her, the Bible says you love yourself. Okay. I can hear the feedback even though I'm not even reading the comments. I hear it in your mind. Okay, verse 29. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as the Lord does the church. You're supposed to nourish your wife and cherish her, not hate her, not talk her down, not make fun of her, not say bad things about her. Everything that come out your mouth toward her is supposed to build her. You ain't supposed to speak no negative. None. Zero. You're supposed to treat her like you treat yourself. How many people are doing that? Explains the divorce rate. See what I'm saying? If we don't do it God's way, that's why it don't work. He designed marriage. He knows what way it needs to be, in order for it to work. Okay, verse 30. For we are members of his body, of the flesh and of his bones. For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. All right, I'm going to stop right there because I got to go. Wives, not only submission to the husband as unto the Lord. You must know the Lord in order to be able to do so. Husbands, love the wives as Christ loved the church. You must know Christ in order to do so. Wives, submit to your husbands, even if some do not obey the word. According to the word, it says to submit to them too.
even if they don't obey the word. If you marry them, you're still responsible to submit to him, regardless if he's living right or not. This is what God expects. So, submission is never out when you're married. You are to do so in spite of it if that's who you marry. You are responsible. You have a responsibility toward that person, regardless if you like what they do or not. So that's why you need to be careful of who you marry, because you need to be careful of who you submit to. Yeah. Now, husbands, if you do not treat your wives the way that the Bible said treat them, then your prayers are hindered. So you think that you're going to go outside and pray or go in the room and pray and you think God hears you? No, he doesn't. You need to get it right with her. He's not listening to you. It says that your prayers be not hindered. So you got to treat her right in order to get a prayer through. Make sure that you got a woman that you can do that with. Otherwise, you're going to be wrestling and arguing and getting into stupid stuff, and then you're going to be trying to pray and your prayers are not being heard. So make sure you got someone that's easy to deal with. All right, there you have it. That is the word. Like it, lump it, leave it, whatever. All right, peace.